The first light of dawn pierces the Pantanal like a golden sword, casting shadows across a half-submerged, half-alive landscape. Mist rises in trembling tendrils above the crystalline waters, coiling around twisted branches and shimmering reeds. The flooded plains stretch endlessly, a labyrinth of rivers, lagoons, and islands of vegetation, a realm ruled by water, rhythm, and silence. Every reflection shimmers with possibility. Every ripple conceals secrets older than the forest itself. A subtle disturbance stirs the water near the shore. At first, it's almost imperceptible, a tiny ripple breaking the mirrored surface, then another, a third. Your gaze sharpens through the undergrowth. A faint, undulating vibration ripples through the mud and reeds. Something moves with deliberate precision, a predator that knows the rhythm of this aquatic world better than any prey. The jaguar, the Pantanal's supreme hunter, emerges like a ghost from the shadows, muscles taut, sinews taut beneath a layer of sun-speckled golden and black rosettes. It glides forward, silent as smoke. His gaze fixes on a caiman resting on the riverbank, its limbs outstretched on the sun-warmed earth. The reptile raises its head lazily, nostrils flared, oblivious to the predator watching it from the reeds, hidden by the mist and still water. Each breath of the jaguar is a calculated move. Its tail twitches once, twice, a metronome of patience. The hunter approaches, stepping from the mud into the shallow water, each paw careful not to make a sound. The water laps at its paws, droplets scattering in a slow-motion ballet that seems to dilate time itself. The Pantanal teems with life and companionship, the trill of songbirds high in the cecropia trees, the soft chatter of howler monkeys echoing from distant islands, and the whisper of water snaking among submerged logs. A fish emerges, casting an arc of silver light through the morning mist. Yet all these small movements fade beneath the tension coiling around the jaguar. Here, in this flooded labyrinth, the drama of life and death is written not in spectacles, but in the most subtle movements. The swipe of a paw, the twitch of a nostril, the fixed gaze of eyes that have learned to see through reflection and shadow. Sensing a change in the air, the caiman flicks its tail and shifts slightly. The jaguar freezes, muscles rigid, ears twitching to catch the slightest vibration. Time stretches. Mist hangs like a veil over the stage of the world's oldest play. Then, in a sudden, lightning-like motion, yet fluid as water, the predator strikes. Its claws rake the riverbank, the water explodes in shimmering arcs, and the caiman thrashes, a whirlwind of brute force battling the inevitability of the hunt. Each splash sends droplets into the air, catching the sunlight like liquid diamonds as the jaguar's powerful jaws close around the reptile's armored back. The struggle is brief but intense. Muscles bulge, tendons tense, and water foams around the two combatants. Yet there is an elegance here, a rhythm as ancient as the Pantanal itself, predator and prey locked in a dance choreographed by survival. Around them, life goes on unaffected. A family of capybaras glides silently across the water, their gaze wary but indifferent to the fleeting drama unfolding nearby. Birds take flight in startled flocks, painting streaks of white and gold across the sky, while distant anacondas twitch beneath the lily-covered waters, invisible yet omnipresent in this realm of liquid green. Finally, the caiman succumbs, dragged into the water by the jaguar's indomitable strength. The predator pauses, water dripping from its fur, nostrils flared as it sniffs the air. The hunt is over, but the story of survival is far from over. Every shadow in the Pantanal could conceal a hunter, and every ripple could signal life in motion. From the smallest fish swimming beneath the reeds to the harpy eagle circling overhead, every creature is bound to this aquatic pulse, linked to the ancient rhythm of flooding and feasting, predator and prey. Welcome to the Pantanal, the world's largest tropical wetland, where every ripple hides a story and every shadow could be a hunter. Here the sun shines with relentless intensity, the waters rise and fall with measured grace, and life thrives in astonishing complexity. It is a place of predators and prey, hunters and hunted, and a delicate balance that has endured through centuries of water, wind, and nature. In this aquatic realm, every moment is a testament to survival, a revelation of nature's enduring artistry, and an invitation to witness the untamed pulse of life itself. As the sun climbs higher over the Pantanal, the labyrinth of rivers, lagoons, and flooded forests begins to reveal its vast complexity. Seasonal rains have swollen the waterways, transforming the low-lying savannas into an intricate network of channels and islands. From above, the landscape appears almost abstract, bands of water snaking through emerald forests and patches of dry land rising like islands in a sea of green. It is a world dominated by water, and every creature here moves in response to its ebb and flow. Beneath the surface, life pulses with a subtle urgency. Capybaras, the gentle giants of the wetlands, glide through the shallow waters, eyes wide and alert. Their social groups, often a dozen or more, navigate cautiously, aware that every ripple could signal a lurking predator. Beside them, marsh deer move with careful gait, digging their hooves into the soft mud and sniffing the damp air for danger. Waterways are both refuge and trap. The same currents that bring food can also bring predators. The apex predator of this aquatic realm, the jaguar, prowls the edges of flooded forests and riverbanks. Its hunting strategy combines patience and explosive power. Often it waits submerged in shallow water, its body hidden beneath the ripples and its eyes barely visible. As soon as a caiman or capybara gets too close, the jaguar strikes with almost surgical precision. Water splashes in arcs, echoing through the dense vegetation, and the chase is over in seconds. Yet for the observer, every pore, every nostril carries a tension that lingers long after the moment of capture. Giant river otters add a new dimension to this dynamic web of life. Elegant and sociable, they move in close-knit families, gliding across mudflats and diving beneath lily-covered waters in search of fish. Their playful energy belies a lethal efficiency. When schools of fish gather near submerged logs, the otters work together, cornering their prey with astonishing coordination. From above, their movements appear choreographed, an elegant counterpoint to the more violent dramas of predator and prey on the riverbanks. Caimans are also formidable participants in this delicate balance. Basking on the exposed sandbanks, they appear slow and inert, but beneath the surface they are the very embodiment of stealth. When a jaguar approaches, the water erupts in tension and movement. The caiman glides silently beneath the murky depths, muscles tensing to gain speed. In those moments, the Pantanal transforms into a suspenseful stage where survival depends on reaction time, instinct, and a profound knowledge of the waterways. Aerial views reveal groups of capybaras moving with cautious deliberation, separating to navigate deeper channels and rejoining as if rehearsing a group safety ritual. Islands of forest provide refuge for smaller mammals, while birds of all sizes, from soaring raptors to delicate kingfishers, streak across the water in arcs of color and movement. All creatures, predator and prey alike, are bound to the rhythm of rising and falling waters. Here, hunting isn't just about speed, it's about knowing the terrain, understanding the flow of the water, and anticipating the behavior of others. Jaguars choose ambush points along narrow channels or sunken logs where their prey are forced to stop. Caimans choose their basking times carefully to regulate heat and reduce risk, and capybaras move in tight packs, following patterns that confuse predators. The tension is invisible to all but the most observant eye, the silent communication of survival, the unspoken rules of a realm where every ripple and every shadow has meaning. However, despite all this drama, the Pantanal is not defined solely by predators and prey. Its waterways nourish countless forms of life, from the smallest fish that slink beneath the water lilies to the enormous flocks of birds that paint the sky with shimmering mosaics. Floating vegetation shelters insects, frogs and birds, while submerged roots offer refuge to both fish and reptiles. The pulse of the floods brings nutrients and renews the wetlands, shaping the lives of those who inhabit them. The Pantanal is a place of constant movement and silent anticipation, of survival etched in every ripple, in every whisper of the wind through the reeds. It is a realm where hunters and prey coexist in a delicate balance and where the waterways themselves dictate the rhythm of life. From the explosive energy of a jaguar ambush to the synchronized glide of a family of otters, every moment tells a story of adaptation, tension, and resilience. But the Pantanal is more than predator and prey. It is a living mosaic of life, where every species is intricately linked to the rhythm of water and sun. Its floodplains, sun-drenched forests, and winding waterways form a stage where every creature plays a part, and every movement resonates in an ecosystem that has thrived for millennia. Here, the story of survival is continuous, intricate, and breathtaking, a dance written in water, shadow, and instinct. The The Pantanal's floodplains are a world built on abundance, and nowhere is this more evident than among its herbivores. These gentle giants and elusive grazing animals form the backbone of the ecosystem, sustaining predators, shaping vegetation, and setting the rhythm of life in this aquatic realm. Capybaras, the largest rodents on Earth, are the most striking of herbivores. They move in tight family groups, often a dozen or more, gliding silently through the shallow waters. Each group is a microcosm of social harmony. Dominant males patrol the perimeters, alert to the slightest disturbance. Females maintain cohesion among the young, guiding them to safe grazing areas. Their fur glistens with dew as they emerge from the water at dawn, each whiskered snout plunging into the floating grass and tender aquatic shoots. Ripples extend from their submerged legs, reflecting the sunlight in shimmering patterns that seem almost ceremonial. Occasionally, a young capybara ventures too far out, and a chorus of high-pitched squeals rises from the group, a swift communication of caution. However, even amid these alerts, they continue to feed with tireless efficiency, harvesting the vegetation that sustains both them and the predators that lurk on the edges of the wetlands. Marsh deer offer a different spectacle, more delicate, more ghostly. These medium-sized herbivores move among the reeds with an almost spectral elegance. Their reddish-brown coats blend seamlessly with the swaying vegetation, their ears twitching at the slightest rustle. Each step is measured, their hooves sinking softly into the mud as they graze on tender shoots by the water's edge. Their large, dark eyes constantly scan for danger, reflecting the mirrored surfaces of the floodplains. Sometimes a herd will pause, necks outstretched, listening for the distant splash of a predator or the rustle of a falling branch. Every movement is an example of alertness and caution, a living lesson in survival. Then there are the tapirs, solitary nocturnal wanderers of the Pantanal. These prehistoric-looking herbivores emerge from the dense, flooded forests at nightfall. Their broad snouts sweep through the vegetation as they forage, probing the mud and submerged roots for fruits, leaves, and shoots. Their muscles ripple beneath their leathery skin as they navigate channels of rising water, adept swimmers in a world defined by floods. The tapir's movements are slow yet fluid, a combination of strength and grace that seems almost otherworldly. Though they move silently, the echoes of their passage reverberate throughout the forest. Broken reeds, displaced water, and the subtle scent trails that guide other nocturnal creatures through the wetlands. Seasonal flooding dictates much of the lives of herbivores. As rains swell rivers, grazing areas shift, forcing capybaras and marsh deer to migrate between islands of dry land. Tapirs adjust their nightly foraging routes to avoid submerged areas or strong currents, synchronizing their movements with the rising and falling pulse of the flood. The landscape is constantly changing. Islands expand and contract, channels deepen, and vegetation is alternately submerged and exposed. Survival depends on a precise knowledge of water levels, the location of predators, and the needs of the herd. A family of capybaras can abandon a familiar grazing area in a matter of minutes, while marsh deer skirt the newly flooded fields, their senses attuned to every shadow and sound. Movement here is as much about communication as locomotion. Capybaras emit hisses and low purrs, a living soundtrack to their daily routines, while marsh deer convey alarm with sudden, deliberate leaps that create ripples in the flooded grasslands. Tapirs, though solitary, leave subtle signs, bent reeds, rippling water, that reverberate throughout the ecosystem. Predators take note of these signs and use them to guide their hunting strategies. In turn, herbivores constantly adapt, refining their vigilance with each encounter. The textures of life in the wetlands are equally captivating. Morning light reflects off the wet fur of capybaras after swimming in shallow water, highlighting the fine grains of mud clinging to their snouts. Leaves drip water, their veins etched with crystalline detail, while reflections in mirrored channels create the illusion of double herds, mirroring the movement of life on the plains. Birds perch on the backs of capybaras, preening parasites in a mutualistic dance that underscores the interconnectedness of species. Tiny insects hover over the floating grass, casting minuscule shadows, while the grazing of herbivores shapes the very architecture of their environment. Yet amidst this calm, the threat of predation is never far away. Jaguars silently prowl the riverbanks, watching the families from the shadows, while caimans stalk beneath the water's surface. Every feeding session, every swim between islands is measured and cautious. And yet, despite the ever-present danger, the herbivores thrive, shaping the Pantanal's ecological tapestry with every step, every bite, every careful crossing of shallow waters. In this world, herbivores are not mere prey. They are architects of movement and survival, silent choreographers of the wetland's rhythm. Their migrations, social bonds, and feeding habits extend throughout the Pantanal, influencing predator behavior, plant growth, and the very texture of the water and soil. Through them, the story of life in the Pantanal unfolds, a story written in mud, hides, reeds, and the constant pulse of the rising waters. As the Pantanal fully awakens under the rising sun, the air itself seems to stir. Birds soar through the sky, their wings slicing through the light, while reptiles slither in the shadows along the banks of the waterways, each creature in tune with the rhythms of this aquatic realm. Here, every flash of color, every subtle ripple conveys a message, predator and prey in a delicate, ever-shifting balance. Among the Pantanal's most striking resident birds is the jabiru. Striding above the shallows on stilt-like legs, it moves with deliberate grace, scanning the shallow waters for unsuspecting fish, amphibians, or even crustaceans. Its enormous bill snaps shut with astonishing precision, creating a ripple on the water's surface. Each step is careful, deliberate, yet utterly confident, as if the wetland itself conspired to support its hunting prowess. Nearby, herons and egrets stand or glide silently over the mirror-like lagoons, their reflections stretching beneath them like shadowy twins. Occasionally, a kingfisher dives into the water with a splash that shatters the morning calm, emerging moments later with a writhing fish caught in its sharp beak. While birds rule the air and the surface, reptiles rule the still, hidden waters. Black caimans and jaguar caimans stalk along the sun-drenched banks, their bodies motionless, eyes barely above the water. They are patient hunters, capable of explosive bursts when the opportunity arises. One caiman glides silently through the water, muscles taut beneath its scaly armor, as it pursues a fleeing fish. Its movements are a study in contrasts. Lethargic and menacing when still, they suddenly transform into a coiled predator when provoked. From the shadows, jaguars watch, calculating the precise moment when water and predator meet prey. Giant otters, slender and playful, add a new dimension to the Pantanal's intricate tapestry. Families glide across mudflats and dive beneath floating vegetation, their streamlined bodies cutting through the water like living torpedoes. Their calls, whistles, barks, and chirps echo through the channels, signaling coordination, warning, and sometimes celebration. When hunting, the otters work with remarkable synchronicity, corralling fish and creating an underwater ballet as efficient as it is mesmerizing. Even birds seem to notice, adjusting their perches and flight paths in response to the sudden bursts of aquatic movement. The turtles rest on partially submerged logs, their shells glistening with water droplets that sparkle like jewels in the sunlight. Their movements are slow, methodical, yet purposeful. Each shift in position is calculated to optimize heat retention and minimize exposure to predators. Occasionally, a turtle silently glides into the water, creating concentric ripples that remind all observers that even the smallest can disrupt the rhythm of the wetland. Seasonal flooding shapes every encounter, dictating where birds can nest, reptiles can hunt, and herbivores can safely graze. Rising waters inundate forest edges, forcing caimans and otters to shift territory and seek new shelter and pushing wading birds to higher ground. Trees that once formed dense canopies over dry soil now float on shallow lagoons, creating ephemeral islands that offer refuge to smaller creatures. The interplay between water level and animal behavior is constant, a dynamic choreography that defines the Pantanal ecosystem. Visual moments abound. A solitary heron leans over a lily-covered pond, its reflection fractured by the sudden movement of a fish. A caiman's eyes gleam on the water as it floats silently beneath the reeds, while a family of otters arches over the surface, reflected in a cascade of fluid motion. Birds take flight in unison, scattering across the sky in a burst of color and light. Each of these moments, though fleeting, tells a story of adaptation, survival, and interconnectedness. Predatory tension permeates every scene. A jaguar, hidden in a flooded forest, watches as a caiman glides beneath the water, every muscle tense at the precise moment. Above, a bird flies low to avoid the growing wake of the wetlands hunters. The Pantanal is a stage of perpetual suspense, a place where stealth and patience are as crucial as strength, and where every movement, every splash, every flap, every subtle ripple carries profound meaning. Yet, amidst the drama, stillness conceals beauty. Mist hangs over the shimmering waters, broken only by the occasional arc of a fish or the slow, deliberate climb of a turtle up a log. Birds preen, otters rest on the banks, and reptiles bask in the warm rays of the sun. It is a world of contrasts, explosive activity interwoven with tranquil pauses, ever-present danger, yet persistent life. The birds and reptiles of the Pantanal are not mere participants in the ecosystem. They are its storytellers. Their movements, songs, and interactions convey the hidden rhythms of the wetlands, the ebb and flow of the water, and the invisible threads that connect predators, prey, and the environment. Every flap, dive, and glide resonates throughout the aquatic realm, reminding observers that life here is as much about strategy and awareness as it is about survival. The Pantanal teems with life through these interactions, a vivid testament to the complexity and resilience of life in this extraordinary wetland. Predator and prey, air and water, wings and scales, each element contributes to an ever-evolving narrative where survival is both a challenge and an art, and every moment, whether violent or serene, is a revelation of the enduring majesty of the natural world. The jaguar is the undisputed ruler of the Pantanal, a predator whose presence dominates both land and water. Enormous yet graceful, its body is a symphony of power, every muscle honed by centuries of evolution. The golden sunlight reflects off its coat, a mosaic of rosettes and spots that seems almost designed to vanish among the reeds and ripples. On the flooded plains, where every shadow can conceal a threat, the jaguar is both phantom and force, moving with quiet confidence without making a sound. Hunting here is an art of patience and precision. Unlike the cheetahs of the African savannas, whose pursuit relies on explosive bursts across open plains, the jaguar thrives in the Pantanal's complex waterways. It stalks slowly along the banks, silently sinking its paws into the mud, its gaze scanning the reflected water for ripples or the slightest hint of movement. The predator waits, sometimes for hours, its body coiled like a spring, nostrils flared to catch the scent of passing capybaras, marsh deer, or even the unsuspecting caiman. Every step is deliberate, every pause calculated, a choreography of stealth and power that defines the ultimate predator. When prey is spotted, the tension is electric. A caiman basks in the sun, limbs outstretched on the sun-warmed mud, oblivious to the predator silently gliding through the reeds. A capybara ventures too far from the safety of its pack. The jaguar shifts slightly, water splashing around its submerged paws, muscles tensing as it assesses distance, speed, and risk. In an instant, it propels forward, a fluid, explosive movement that scatters droplets like liquid diamonds. Water erupts around predator and prey, creating a brief, violent spectacle in stark contrast to the stillness of the Pantanal. The attack is over in seconds, but the reverberations linger, rippling through the reeds, alerting other animals to the relentless presence of survival. Jaguars are exceptionally adapted to this aquatic environment. They are expert swimmers, capable of pursuing caimans through channels and submerged logs. Their powerful jaws can pierce a caiman's armored hide, delivering a fatal bite to the skull, a precision weapon honed by both anatomy and instinct. However, the hunt is rarely risk-free. A miscalculated leap or a sudden flick of a caiman's tail can injure even the strongest predator. The Pantanal demands respect, teaching predators and prey alike that life and death are intertwined in the waters that define this realm. Female jaguars, often accompanied by their cubs, add a new dimension to the narrative. They hunt to feed themselves and their young, thereby teaching the cubs patience, precision, and stealth. The cubs mimic their mother's movements, crouching behind reeds, scratching at floating leaves, and observing the interactions of the river animals. Every splash, every movement is a lesson in the balance between predator and prey. The rhythm of the floods dictates the pace of these lessons. The rising waters expand the hunting grounds, while the receding channels concentrate the prey, sharpening the skills of both the hunters and their observers. Territoriality is fundamental to the jaguar's life. Males roam vast stretches of wetlands, marking trees and mud banks with their scent, establishing invisible boundaries reinforced by their presence and occasional confrontations. These territories overlap with the ranges of females, creating a dynamic interplay of competition and opportunity. The spatial awareness required is immense. The jaguar must navigate the flooded forest using memory, instinct, and keen observation, recognizing every channel, submerged log, and potential ambush point. The visual narrative captures these moments with cinematic intensity. A jaguar glides toward a canal, its eyes gleaming just above the water, its muscles tense beneath its damp fur as it swims silently, stalking a warily moving pack of capybaras. A caiman retreats, sensing the danger too late, leaving a trail of murky water in its wake. Birds take flight in startled flocks, mirroring the sudden drama. Every movement is a dance of survival, a choreography dictated by hunger, instinct, and the environment itself. The Pantanal is not just a hunting ground, it shapes the jaguar's every move. Seasonal floods create temporary islands, alter river currents, and force prey into predictable routes. Jaguars exploit these conditions, using submerged logs for cover and positioning themselves in narrow channels where their prey have no choice but to pass. The wetlands reward knowledge and patience, and the patient, observant jaguar thrives where others might fail. Yet there is elegance in this violence. Every strike, every splash, every powerful glide through the water is executed with a natural grace that mirrors the rhythms of the wetlands themselves. The jaguar is both predator and artist. Its movements echo the tides, the wind, and the subtle undulations of the reeds and grass. To observe it is to witness evolution in motion, a creature perfected by its environment, inseparable from the flooded world it dominates. Beyond hunting, jaguars influence the ecosystem as a whole. Their presence controls populations of capybaras, marsh deer, and caimans, shaping the landscape and maintaining its balance. Through predator-prey dynamics, they dictate movement patterns, gregarious behavior, and even vegetation growth along riverbanks. The jaguar is not simply a hunter, it is a key player in an aquatic realm defined by complexity, beauty, and interconnectedness. In the Pantanal, every jaguar is a story, a narrative of strength, patience, intelligence, and survival. From the first crouch among the reeds to the final drag of its prey into the shadowy waters, the predator embodies the wild pulse of life in the world's largest tropical wetland. Here, in these flooded forests and winding waterways, the jaguar reigns supreme, a living testament to nature's power, precision, and enduring mastery. Beneath the tranquil crystalline surface of the Pantanal's waterways lurks a predator as ancient as the wetlands themselves. The elegant and silent caiman embodies patience and latent strength. Basking on mudflats or floating underwater, it waits for its opportunity with a stillness that belies its potential for sudden, explosive action. Every movement is deliberate. Every flick of its tail, every blink, is a calculated measure of survival. Black caimans dominate the deepest channels, their enormous bodies coiled beneath waters strewn with lily pads. At first glance, they appear inert, logs, shadows, or reflections of reeds. Yet beneath this apparent stillness unfolds a hidden world of sensations. Sensitive pressure receptors along their jaws detect the slightest disturbance in the water. A fish skimming the surface, a capybara grazing near the bank, even the faint rustle of a submerged jaguar's paw. These are all signs of potential action. For caimans, patience is as much their weapon as their teeth or their tail. Aquatic caimans, slightly smaller but equally formidable, frequent shallow lagoons and flooded forests. Their hunting style combines ambush and stealth. They stalk along the channels where prey congregate, muscles tense and eyes and nostrils barely above the water. When the moment arrives, they strike with astonishing speed, snapping their jaws shut on fish, turtles, or even smaller mammals that venture too close to the bank. Each attack is precise and efficient, a combination of anatomy and instinct honed over millions of years. The Pantanal's aquatic realm isn't theirs alone. Giant otters glide through the channels with agile, sinuous movements, hunting cooperatively in coordinated bursts. Their playful energy masks a lethal skill. When a school of fish darts toward the reeds or fallen logs, the otters herd them with synchronized dives, often outrunning caimans in pursuit. These interactions are fleeting yet impactful, a constant negotiation of space and opportunity between aquatic predators. The predator-prey dynamic in these waters is tense. A jaguar prowls the bank, waiting for a caiman to make a false move, assessing the water's depth, the current, and potential escape routes. The caiman, fully aware of the jaguar's presence, may choose to retreat into the murky depths, muscles tensed for a swift propulsion. The moment lingers, the tension thick in the humid air before nature resolves it, sometimes with the prey escaping, sometimes with the predator victorious. Each encounter is a lesson in timing, patience, and adaptation, written in scales, ripples, and shadows. The visual narrative captures these interactions with cinematic intensity. A black caiman floats beneath submerged branches, its nostrils peeking through the water's surface. Nearby, a jaguar crouches on a sunlit bank, its gaze fixed and muscles tense to spring forward. The sun reflects off the water droplets as a tail flicks, tracing concentric circles that betray the predator's presence. Birds rise in alarm from the nearby reeds. Their flapping wings are a living barometer of the tension. Even the capybaras react, twitching their ears and turning their heads, assessing threats that may never materialize. The Pantanal floods determine much of these interactions. The rising waters expand the range of aquatic predators, allowing caimans to patrol channels that were previously too shallow. Seasonal floods also bring prey closer to predators, concentrating activity in narrower passages. These natural pulses shape behavior, dictating where predators hide, where prey graze, and how all species move in the flooded world. Here, reptiles are both predators and prey, participants in a delicate balance. Smaller caimans are vulnerable to jaguars, while larger ones dominate fish and amphibians. Even within species, hierarchies govern access to territory, basking spots, and feeding grounds. This layered complexity ensures that no movement is trivial. Every ripple, every breath has significance for the entire life support network of the wetland. Caiman behavior is not limited to hunting. Social interactions, mating rituals, and territorial disputes add nuance to their existence. Males often patrol overlapping areas, asserting their dominance with deep bellows and slow, deliberate movements that extend through the water. Females guard nests built along the banks, carefully timing hatching with flood cycles to maximize their hatchlings' survival. Observing these behaviors is to witness the intertwined dynamics of strategy, instinct, and adaptation to their environment. Even seemingly mundane moments are laden with meaning. An alligator glides through shaded waters to escape the midday heat, casting shadows that obscure the passage of fish and insects. A giant river otter drifts along, its slender body barely disturbing the surface, while above, herons circle slowly, scanning for fish disturbed by unseen predators. Life here is a constant interplay of vigilance, opportunity, and adaptation, an aquatic ballet where every participant plays a vital role. Yet despite the apparent ferocity, there is elegance. The curves of a caiman's tail, the subtle movement of its body in the water, the precision of its attack all speak of millions of years of evolution refining efficiency and survival. The water itself becomes part of the narrative, reflective, hidden, and revealing in equal measure. Each predator is master of its environment, each prey a testament to vigilance and instinct. In the Pantanal, aquatic predators are both architects and inhabitants of a complex ecosystem. Caimans, otters, and even submerged reptiles set the rhythm of life in rivers, lagunas y bosques inundados. Sus interacciones con jaguares, capibaras y peces dan forma al pulso de los humedales, una negociación constante de supervivencia, dominancia y coexistencia. Cada ripple tells a story. Every movement resonates throughout the flooded world, and every encounter, brief, explosive, or subtle, reveals the intricate craftsmanship of life in the Pantanal's aquatic realm. The Pantanal is a world defined by water. Its rhythm is dictated not only by clocks or seasons, but by the rise and fall of rivers, the overflowing of lagoons, and the pulse of seasonal floods that transform the landscape in subtle and dramatic ways. With the arrival of the rains, the low-lying savannas disappear beneath sheets of water, and the familiar paths of herbivores and predators are reconfigured almost overnight. In this constantly changing mosaic, life is a dance of movement, adaptation, and survival. Capybaras and marsh deer, ever watchful of the water's fluctuations, adjust their daily routines and migratory routes with astonishing precision. Families of capybaras navigate expanding lagoons, swimming among isolated islets of vegetation, their heads barely above the surface, nostrils flared to catch the scent of predators or distant relatives. Slender, cautious marsh deer tread the edge of the rising waters, digging their hooves into the soft earth and pricking their ears to the slightest movement. Every ripple, every shift in the current informs them of their movement. The floodplains are both highway and peril, offering abundant food but demanding constant vigilance. Solitary and nocturnal tapirs venture deep into the forest during floods, seeking higher ground where leaves, fruits and roots remain accessible. Channels that once required careful crossing submerge, creating new pathways for these gentle travelers. Occasionally, a tapir must swim across a widened riverbed, its powerful limbs propelling it silently through murky water, its eyes alert for predators lurking beneath the surface. Every movement is a study in energy conservation and environmental awareness, a balancing act between food and safety. Birds are also influenced by the pulse of the floods. Wading species such as herons and egrets follow the receding waters, fishing in the newly exposed shallows where small fish and crustaceans congregate. Kingfishers perch on submerged branches, ready to dive for prey. Flocks of ibis and storks adjust their flight paths daily, following the contours of the wetland as the flooded islands rise and fall beneath them. Migratory species, drawn by the Pantanal's seasonal abundance, precisely time their arrival, taking advantage of the temporary richness of fish, insects and amphibians that thrive in the ephemeral waters. Predators respond in kind. Jaguars take advantage of the floods, predicting where their prey will congregate as dry areas shrink and shallow channels form natural corridors. Floods can force caimans into confined areas, increasing the likelihood of ambushes and the efficiency of their hunts. Otters track the movements of fish, exploiting the swollen channels and coordinating hunts that are both playful and deadly. Even reptiles adapt. Turtles, snakes and lizards seek out high logs or branches, navigating the shifting waterline with innate ease. Floods also transform the physical landscape, creating ephemeral islands that serve as refuges for herbivores and breeding grounds for birds. Trees that once stood on dry land now rise from shallow lagoons, their roots submerged and their branches offering shelter and vantage points. Fallen trunks, barely visible beneath the surface, become pathways for capybaras or hunting platforms for jaguars. The fluid and ever-changing topography of the wetlands dictates the movement of each species, forming a living map that must be constantly read and reinterpreted. Even the smallest creatures are influenced by the seasonal pulse. Fish follow the rising waters into the flooded forests, taking advantage of new feeding grounds among the submerged vegetation. Insects thrive in temporary pools, providing food for birds, amphibians, and small mammals. Frogs chorus on damp nights, their calls echoing through the water and reeds, signaling territory and abundance. Life springs up in once dry areas, only to retreat as the waters recede, leaving behind nutrients, shelter, and traces that guide the next cycle. Migration in the Pantanal is as much a matter of survival as it is of opportunity. Herbivores move to access food and avoid predation, predators follow their prey, and birds track both water levels and aquatic abundance. The rhythm is continuous, measured by the rise and fall of the wetland itself. To those who observe it from above, it seems almost like choreography, a ceaseless ballet of movement on an ever-changing stage. However, the pulse of the floods is not predictable in detail. Droughts, unusually intense rainfall, and climate variability pose a challenge even to the most adaptable species. A jaguar may find its hunting grounds shrinking, forcing it to patrol unfamiliar territories. Capybaras may abandon islands that no longer offer sufficient shelter, while fish and amphibians seek deeper refuges. Each adaptation is a testament to resilience, to the intelligence inherent in instinct, and to the Pantanal's role as a testing ground for life in constant motion. In this aquatic realm, migration and seasonal flooding are not mere background phenomena, but rather the architects of behavior, the sculptors of survival, and the pulse that defines existence. Every ripple, every upwelling, and every newly submerged reed carries a meaning that shapes how predators and prey navigate the flooded world. Life in the Pantanal is a symphony of adaptation, choreographed by the water, sung by the birds, and written in the movements of every creature that inhabits this ever-changing wetland. Beyond the dramatic chases of jaguars and the boisterous families of capybaras, the Pantanal harbors a quieter, more elusive world. Here, rare and stealthy species move in the shadows, their presence felt more than seen. These creatures are the whispering ghosts of the wetlands, shaping ecosystems in subtle yet profound ways, and offering glimpses into the hidden complexity of life in the aquatic realm. The ocelot, a medium-sized wild cat with a coat patterned in chains of rosettes, prowls the edges of the forest with measured silence. Unlike the jaguar, it is a creature of stealth rather than brute force. Its movements are fluid. It sinks its paws gently into the damp earth and leaf litter, curling its tail for balance as it navigates narrow channels through the flooded vegetation. Its eyes, luminous in the twilight, search for rodents, birds, and small reptiles. Each step is calculated, each pause a lesson in patience. To observe an ocelot is to witness the art of predation, refined to elegance, a dance between hunger and caution. The smaller, more wiry jaguarundi thrives in dense thickets and reed-lined canals. Its uniform reddish-brown or grey coat allows it to blend seamlessly into the undergrowth. Active both day and night, the jaguarundi is a versatile predator that hunts lizards, birds, and insects with boundless energy. Its movements are swift and precise, weaving through reeds and fallen branches with the agility of a liquid shadow. Though rarely seen, its impact is significant, controlling populations of smaller prey and contributing to the delicate balance of wetlands. Among aquatic specialists, the giant river otter stands out not only for its size, but also for its social intelligence. These slender mammals, often exceeding 2 meters in length, hunt in tight family groups, diving, herding, and corralling fish with near-perfect coordination. Their vocalizations, hisses, barks, and chirps, resonate through the waterways, signaling alarm, coordination, or celebration. When hunting, otters move like a fluid choreography, their bodies gliding through the water, their tails arching gracefully, and the fins of the fish flashing in their wake. Each successful hunt strengthens social bonds, teaches younger members, and demonstrates the adaptability of life in a flooded world. The Pantanal is also home to a variety of nocturnal mammals rarely seen by the human eye. Crab-eating raccoons, kinkajous, and small marsupials forage under the cover of darkness, exploring the flooded forests with their keen senses. Their activities leave subtle traces, disturbed reeds, footprints in the soft mud, or fleeting reflections in still water, hinting at a rich nocturnal tapestry that complements the daytime drama of large predators and herbivores. Even in their stealth, these species influence the flow of the ecosystem, pollinating plants, dispersing seeds, and maintaining the predator-prey dynamic. The bird life also includes unusual inhabitants whose presence adds flashes of color and movement to the wetlands. Small, brilliantly colored birds add flashes of light and movement to the wetlands, performs intricate courtship displays along shallow streams, reflecting the light in dazzling patterns. The striking electric blue hyacinth macaw swoops down above the flooded forests, calling loudly to its mates as they navigate the canopy. These rare species remind observers that the Pantanal is not just a stage for apex predators, but a theater of biodiversity where every actor, visible or hidden, contributes to the narrative of survival. Even reptiles contribute to this clandestine world. Small caimans, snakes like the green anaconda, and elusive lizards inhabit shaded channels, submerged roots, and sun-drenched banks. They hunt and evade with precision, often invisible to casual observers. Each encounter is a lesson in the interplay between predator and prey, movement and stillness, presence and invisibility. The complexity of wetlands ensures that even the smallest participant can have an enormous influence, shaping local food webs and the behavior of larger species. Seasonal changes intensify the challenge for rare species. Rising waters force some to take refuge in the highest treetops or on isolated islands, while receding floods concentrate prey and increase vulnerability. Adaptation is constant and requires great attention, stealth, and timing. The survival of these elusive species depends not only on skill, but also on the complex interplay of habitat, prey availability, and predator pressure, a balance honed over millennia. In the Pantanal, rarity does not mean insignificance. Elusive species are threads woven into the fabric of the wetland, subtle architects of its ecological balance. From the ocelot stalking among the reeds to the giant river otter coordinating a hunt, each organism contributes to a living mosaic where survival depends on vigilance, adaptability, and the rhythms of the water. Their presence enriches the wetlands, ensuring that, even in moments of stillness, The story of life is continuous, complex, and breathtaking. The rare and elusive species of the Pantanal remind us that life thrives not only in the spotlight, but also in the shadows. They are the hidden pulse of the aquatic realm, tranquil, unhurried, and essential. Every ripple, every shadow, every faint call or flash of color adds depth to the narrative of survival, creating a wetland brimming with mystery, complexity, and wonder. The Pantanal is a realm built not only of water and wildlife, but also of vegetation, a living architecture that shapes the rhythm of life. Here, plants are more than just a landscape. They are shelter, sustenance, and scaffolding, determining the movement, behavior, and survival of every creature that inhabits the wetlands. From the floating grasses to the towering cecropia trees, each layer of vegetation tells a story of adaptation and interconnectedness. Floating grasses drift across shallow lagoons, their long, slender leaves undulating with the current. To the naked eye, they are mere green strips, but these fragile mats provide crucial grazing grounds for capybaras and marsh deer. Young caimans lurk beneath their shelter, waiting for unsuspecting fish to swim over them. Macro photographs reveal glistening droplets of water clinging to each leaf, reflecting the morning sun like countless tiny lenses. Birds perch delicately on these floating platforms, preening or diving for insects, their reflections spread across the water like a mirror in fleeting symmetry. The grasses themselves move with the ebb and flow of the water, creating ever-changing corridors for movement and feeding. The rushes grow in dense groves along the riverbanks, their roots firmly anchored in the soft mud. They sway in the slightest breeze, whispering to those who perceive their subtle signals. For the Pantanal's herbivores, the rushes offer shelter and guidance, concealing young animals from predators and marking safe paths through the flooded forests. Jaguars and ocelots move silently among the stalks, muscles tense as they take advantage of this camouflage, stalking their prey with almost imperceptible movement. The rushes also play a vital role in water filtration, their fibrous roots trapping sediment and maintaining clarity for aquatic life. Flooded forests are dominated by cecropia trees, palms, and dense undergrowth, forming a canopy that rises above the shifting waters. These towering trees provide nesting sites for birds, shade for resting animals, and perches for predators exploring the floodplain. Their leaves drip with rainwater and condensation, creating small streams that nourish the forest floor. Sunlight filters through the canopy in mottled patterns, illuminating insects, amphibians, and small mammals that depend on this layered refuge. At the same time, fallen branches and leaves enrich the water, decomposing to release nutrients that feed populations of fish and aquatic plants, the very foundation of the wetland's food web. Seasonal changes govern the life cycle of the Pantanal's vegetation. With the arrival of the rains, new shoots emerge from the nutrient-rich mud, painting the wetlands a vibrant green. Submerged seeds and roots awaken, sprouting alongside algae and floating plants, feeding herbivores and filtering the waters. As the waters recede, decaying plant matter enriches the soil, creating a cycle of life and death that sustains the ecosystem. Floating mats break up, releasing trapped nutrients, while decomposing leaves nourish submerged roots and algae, forming the invisible threads that support fish, insects, and birds alike. Each stage, growth, flowering, and decomposition, is integral and nourishes species both above and below the waterline. Plants also define the space and movement of animals. Dense reeds and fallen logs guide capybaras along predictable paths, while floating grasses determine the hunting grounds of otters and caimans. Birds select their nesting sites based on tree height, branch density, and proximity to water. Predators adapt to these patterns, refining their hunting strategies according to the vegetation structure. Even seemingly minor changes, such as a partially submerged log or a clump of newly sprouted reeds, alter interactions and influence survival. Vegetation is the invisible hand of the wetland. It guides behavior, shapes encounters, and orchestrates life with subtlety and precision. The interplay of reflection, water level, and plant form creates visual poetry. Sunlight glints off rippling leaves, reflecting off the flooded channels that shimmer like liquid crystal. Floating grass moves with the current, reeds bend in the wind, and cecropia branches sway over tranquil lagoons. Birds flash in brilliant arcs of color, fish surface, and mammals follow paths dictated by both water and vegetation. Each frame comes alive with texture and movement, a story told in green and gold, shadows and light, motion and stillness. Ultimately, the Pantanal's vegetation is the foundation upon which survival is built. It nourishes, conceals, protects, and structures all other life forms, shaping predator-prey interactions, facilitating reproduction, and maintaining the vital rhythm of the wetlands. From the smallest floating grass to the tallest tree, every organism contributes to a living mosaic of interdependence. Life here is a constant negotiation with water, sun, and vegetation, and in this dynamic, the Pantanal's enduring beauty, resilience, and complexity are revealed. The Pantanal, vast and seemingly untouched, bears the subtle marks of human presence. From the air, the floodplains appear endless, a mosaic of water, forest, and grasslands stretching to the horizon. Yet upon closer inspection, evidence of livestock grazing, deforestation, and pollution becomes apparent. Narrow roads winding through marshes, cattle grazing in what was once dense forest, and floating debris hinting at human intrusion. Even in this remote aquatic realm, humanity's impact is undeniable. Cattle ranching has long shaped parts of the Pantanal. Cattle roam the grassy margins of the flooded savannas, trampling vegetation and compacting the soil. Fences, erected to contain the cattle, fragment habitats and obstruct the natural migration of herbivores such as capybaras and marsh deer. Predators, from jaguars to ocelots, must navigate around these artificial barriers, increasing the risk of conflict or displacement. Seasonal fires, often set to clear pasture land, scorch the land, altering vegetation and temporarily displacing wildlife. The very rhythm of the floods, which has guided species for millennia, is subtly altered by human activity. Deforestation and habitat loss exacerbate these pressures. Trees are felled for timber, fuel, or farmland, reducing nesting sites for birds, shade for herbivores, and cover for predators. Riverbanks, once dense with rushes and cecropias, are shrinking, exposing animals to greater risk from hunting and natural predators. Polluted runoff from farms and settlements seeps into canals and ponds, altering the water's chemical composition, disrupting fish populations, and threatening the aquatic life that forms the base of the wetland's food web. Even small incursions have repercussions, transforming predator-prey dynamics and disrupting species' survival strategies. Poaching and illegal hunting remain persistent threats. Jaguars, caimans, and birds are hunted for their pelts or for trade, while smaller mammals and reptiles may fall victim to local subsistence hunting. Each loss in the ecosystem creates an imbalance. Predator populations are stressed, herbivores may overgraze in areas where predators are absent, and the delicate food chain is strained by human intervention. The Pantanal's intricate web of interdependence, forged over millennia, is vulnerable to disturbances at any scale. However, amid these pressures, conservation efforts offer a glimmer of hope. Protected areas, such as national parks and reserves, safeguard critical habitats from further encroachment. Rangers patrol waterways, monitoring wildlife populations, enforcing anti-poaching laws, and restoring degraded lands. Research stations are located along rivers and lakes, where scientists track jaguar movements with camera traps, tag fish and otters, and study bird migration patterns. Every observation, every piece of data, contributes to strategies that seek to balance human activity with ecological preservation. Ecotourism has become a double-edged sword, a source of income and a management method. Visitors travel in small boats or take guided hikes through the wetlands, observing capybaras, caimans, and exotic birds with minimal intrusion. Lodges and tour operators educate guests about the fragility of the Pantanal ecosystems, raising awareness and generating funds for conservation projects. In many cases, local communities participate directly, becoming guardians of their environment and using traditional knowledge to guide sustainable practices that benefit both people and wildlife. The visual narrative illustrates this delicate balance. Boats glide silently across mirror-like lagoons, carrying researchers who photograph elusive jaguars. Rangers monitor key habitats on small river islands, helping reduce conflict and disturbance for both herbivores and predators. Bird nests in flood-prone areas are monitored, while otters are counted, tracked, and released after being tagged. Even the subtle human presence, a hand brushing against the reeds, a small canoe gliding across calm waters, tells a story of intervention tinged with care, of responsibility intertwined with curiosity. The challenge is immense. The Pantanal is vast, its waters unpredictable, and the threats are diffuse and constant. However, the commitment of scientists, local administrators, and international conservation organizations offers reasons for optimism. Wetlands are resilient, but only if the delicate balance between human activity and natural rhythms is respected. Every tree restored, every protected stretch of riverbank, every regulated excursion contributes to the survival of a complex and thriving ecosystem. In the Pantanal, human impact is both a warning and a source of hope. The same rivers that pose threats also represent an opportunity to safeguard habitats, sustain wildlife, and maintain the intricate pulse of life in the floodplains. Conservation here is not just about preservation, it is about coexistence, understanding, and action, ensuring that the world's largest tropical wetland continues to tell its story of water, life, and survival for generations to come. The Pantanal is a realm of rhythm and resilience, a living mosaic where water dictates life and every ripple tells a story. Its flooded forests, vast savannas, and winding waterways harbor an astonishing diversity of life, from jaguars and caimans to capybaras, tapirs, and thousands of bird species. Every organism, predator or prey, plays a role in a delicate ecological choreography honed over millennia. Wetlands are not merely a habitat. They are a testament to the power of interdependence, a reminder that life thrives in balance. However, this balance is fragile. Cattle ranching, deforestation, pollution, and poaching ripple through the Pantanal like invisible waves, altering migratory routes, fragmenting habitats, and threatening species shaped by evolution over eons. Even small disturbances, a fallen tree, a fence, a patch of polluted water, affect the ecosystem, disrupting predator-prey dynamics, reproductive patterns, and the vital pulse that defines this aquatic realm. Climate variability and wildfires add layers of unpredictability, amplifying the challenges faced by both the wildlife and the humans who share this landscape. Even so, the Pantanal endures. Conservation efforts, protected areas, scientific research, and community management illuminate the path toward coexistence. Ecotourism, when practiced responsibly, offers awareness and tangible support, connecting human curiosity with ecological responsibility. The resilience of wetlands is remarkable but not limitless. The Pantanal doesn't reveal its secrets easily. Its waters rise and fall, its forests transform, and its predators hunt with ancient precision. But where humans tread carelessly, the ecosystem falters. Conservation is no longer optional but essential. To see the jaguar silently glide through the reeds, the capybara gliding across crystal-clear waters, or the caiman relax in sunlit channels is to glimpse a world full of balance and wonder. Protecting it ensures that this aquatic realm continues to thrive, not only today but for generations to come. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.